Hello, everyone. Welcome back to The Visionary Way. I am outside today. It is gorgeous. That might mean that I'm squinting at you all, and I'm so sorry about that. I am here in Toronto. The sun is out. It is, what day is it? April 8th. We're still in our sequestration, our isolation here, making the best of it, right? So today's episode of The Visionary Way is all about naming your business or naming your next product, next service, or next offer. For example, I created a program 2.5 years ago called The Visionary Method. I had to go through this exercise in order to be able to come up with that name, and I want to share the process with you today. So I'm just going to quick type in here what the topic of our session is. And I'm going to pin the post just so that people know what we're talking about today. Awesome. So welcome in, welcome back. If we haven't met before, my name is Kelsey Rydell. I am an online business and marketing coach. My journey started about 4 years ago when I was let go from my dream job, and I thought, what the heck am I going to do next? And instead of wallowing in my sorrows, I did do that a little bit. I decided to launch a brand, a business, and I titled it Visionary Life. Another exercise in naming. I was so stumped. I knew I loved the word visionary, but I didn't know how to make that into a name. So again, I love the concept of naming things, naming aspects of your brand, coming up with a business name, launching a new offer and exploring what to call it. And I just find that it's such a cool opportunity to get your creative juices flowing. So I hope to instill some of that within you today. If you're somebody who is thinking about starting a business, who's in the early stages of deciding what your idea is, but you still haven't come up with that brand name, or if you already have a business and you're launching something new, especially during this time of crisis, you're probably innovating rapidly and coming up with so many new good ideas, then I'm going to help you in naming your business today. So obviously a brand name or the name of your product or service is so important because it's memorable. And in some cases, if you do it wrong, it's not memorable at all. And then nobody talks about it or nobody shares it. So just some basics when it comes to naming a business. Number one, you want it to be easy to pronounce and easy to remember, okay? If you're using words in your brand name like discombobulated or just lengthy words that the average person's not using on a regular basis, then it's not exactly memorable. And I'm gonna assume you want your brand to be memorable. Bonus points if you can have a business name or brand name that is illustrative of your services, okay? So, for example, the company Mama Earth Organics. Even if you don't know a single thing about that company, you can probably get an idea. Okay, organics, they probably do organic food. Mama Earth, so food that comes from the earth, the soil. So you've kind of gotten yourself to a point where you're like, I think they're a business that delivers organic produce. And ding, 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 you are right. So when you're coming up with a business name, if it can be slightly illustrative of your services, that's a really good thing. Obviously, you want to think about whether you can get the same internet domain, get the social media handles before you register that business name. And ideally, it's short and succinct and cannot be confused with anything else out there, okay? You don't want someone to hear your business name and then something else comes to mind. Like if yours is Coca-Cool, people might think, oh, she's talking about Coca-Cola. So again, like you don't want people to get confused the first time they hear your business name. Some suggestions for when you're in that formulation process is to look at acronyms for certain words, look at mashups of two words into one. You can try to look at a map and see if any countries of the world or places on this planet jump out. You can abbreviate a word or take out the vowels from a word, making a grammar mistake on purpose. So there's lots of different ways that you can start to explore. For example, I used to work at a indoor cycling studio called CYKL. So people would look and what comes to mind is cycle, but it would make them think twice, and it was very memorable, especially because the K was a different color than all of the other letters. So you knew, okay, this is something to do with cycling, but I'm intrigued to learn more, okay? So ideally, you want it to be something that catches people's attention. So another thing to consider with brand names is that there are certain sounds and phonetics with words that are really, really powerful, okay? So for example, when you think of the brand names Kraft, Kellogg, Kmart, Krispy Kreme, Kimberly-Clark, Kroger, Kleenex, Spanx, Kit Kat, Kodak, Kool-Aid, Coca-Cola, I could go on. Why do you think that all of these different brand names have that K sound either at the beginning or the end? That's because that sound is easier to remember and more impactful when we hear it because it's a strong sound. And so in a brand name, that works really, really well. A really cool example, some of you may know who Sara Blakely is. She is the founder of a company that used to be called Open-Toed Delilah. It's no longer called Open-Toed Delilah. It's now called Spanx. Have any of you heard of Spanx? It's a $1 billion business. Sara wanted a brand name that had that K sound, Spanx, K, because she knew that was memorable. So why did she choose Spanx? It's short, it's succinct, it's a word that doesn't exist, but she altered the like spank, S-P-A-N-K, yes, but adding an X at the end, it makes it different. It makes it memorable, okay? One thing you can do to double check on your brand name is do a search on, there's a website, Canada-NUANS, and you can do a name search to make sure that the name you want for your business is not already taken. One thing that I love is kind of coming up with a name that means nothing but could mean anything. So let's take, for example, a story of Goop, G-O-O-P. This is the brand that Gwyneth Paltrow is actually the founder of. I'm sure many of you have listened to the Goop podcast or have been on goop.com. So think about how that name, it doesn't really mean anything, but yet it now, in our mind, if you follow Gwyneth, Goop means a hub for health and wellness and all things that GP gives her stamp of approval to. How cool is that, right? Now, a good brand name is not going to sell a bad product, but if you have a great brand name paired with a great product, you can make an impact even during this time of crisis. So a quick exercise that I would get you to do is first just grab a blank sheet of paper and draw two columns basically. And in the first column, you're going to use words that inspire you, words that describe your vision, your mission, your beliefs, words that are really exciting and captivating. So that's going to be in one column. And then in the other column, you're going to use words that describe your industry. So if you're a jeweler, you might say jewelry or treasures or jewel or trinkets or things like that, okay? So describing the industry in one column and then using just words that describe your brand, your vision, your beliefs, things that are really heartfelt from you. So an example of this would be my friend Britt, who I've actually interviewed on the Visionary Life podcast. You can tune in, it's a past episode. Her business is called Anise Jewelry. Anise is the name of her grandma. So that was more on that first column, that sentimental, describing the vision behind the business. And then the second column, jewelry, okay? So it makes perfect sense. Another example, I've interviewed the founders of Wholly Veggie on the podcast before. So veggie is in that second word because that's what describes their product. They make like veggie burgers, pizza crusts with veggies in them. So really, really simple to know what they do. And then on the other side, wholly was a word they really liked, and they spelt it WHOLLY. And then they added an exclamation mark at the end of veggie, so wholly veggie. Another example would be an upcoming podcast guest. They do cold brew coffee. So cold brew coffee was in that second column of like describe what you do. And then they used the word station at the beginning. So station cold brew. So see how these things are simple, but it kind of takes mapping out those different columns to really assess like what's a great combination of words here. Once you get those two columns, I would just simply suggest run them by a friend, run them by a family member, and get their take on it. So my challenge to you is if you're in the early stages of starting a business or of launching a new product, I want you to come up with your first 5 samples of what the name is going to be. Naming is the fun part, but it's also one of the most challenging parts of a business. Gain inspiration from walking around the city, gain inspiration from reading books, from seeing what other people are doing. I just launched a brand new framework for the Visionary Method, and I went with a concept that I learned from my business coach, which is starting all of your offers with the, having a name, and then having a descriptor word. So similar to what I've shared with you, but it would be like the vision session, okay? The brilliance finder. So these are how I've named the different pillars of my course. The serve, grow, and scale technique, right? So it sounds good. Easy to remember, concise, and it intrigues people to learn more. So if you need help with naming your business, you need a name that freaking hits it out of the park right now, you need to watch this video at least 2 times, get the creative juices churning, send me the names that you have come up with. I would love, love, love to hear them and to give you feedback if I can offer any help at all. So again, if you need help naming your business, watch this video, get inspiration from some of the best of the best. Hey, Britt. I see that. We've got Erin and Tina and Megan and Shannon. Naming your next offer, naming your next business is one of the most important decisions you make, because with a crappy name, you are not memorable and you're not differentiated through sometimes the first touch point of what someone's going to know about your business. So good luck in naming your next business idea and your next offer. And I hope to hear all your successes from this method. So enjoy. And I'll be back tomorrow as well.